Hello everybody, good evening. Welcome to Kingdom Expression Business School. I'm William Beckson. I welcome you to this platform where we interact and have conversation that will lead to an enhanced understanding for men and women in God's kingdom who have a particular calling along the lines of business and industry. So I'm trusting that you will find these broadcasts helpful in your quest to fulfilling the call of God on your life that has to do with the marketplace. The call of God on your life that has to do with the marketplace. So welcome. I hope you had a good time in church, if today is Sunday for you, or you've had a good day so far, if you are working today, depending on where you are watching us from. Thank you very much for connecting. Can we go ahead and share the link and invite our friends, our colleagues, partners, family to connect to this conversation? So we'll give ourselves some few minutes as we get other like-minded people to connect so we can have this conversation this evening. Today we'll be sharing some thoughts on financing our business, So we won't exhaust everything today, but I'm sure in the subsequent broadcasts I will be able to touch on the main thoughts we would want to share with you. So please go ahead and share the link, and then in some few minutes we will get into the material and look at some thoughts about how we can finance our businesses. It's so important to have clear thinking along those lines, so that depending on what stream or avenue or a mix of streams you want to be using to finance your business, you know exactly what you're doing and you know exactly what you're dealing with. So go ahead and share the link. Let's invite people, set up watch parties, and let's have this conversation. Savior, thank you for connecting. Bless you, Nicholson Nix. Thank you for connecting. God bless you. So we're getting some connections right there. Thank you so much for connecting. Thank you for connecting. All right, so I think last week, just by way of not recap, but just we can pick up from where we left off. Last week we were encouraging you to spend time with your customers, and by customers we mean both actual and potential, people who can buy, people who have purchasing power to buy from you. Spend time with them, spend time with customers, spend time with people who can buy from you. That was a major thought we shared last week, that you need to restructure how you spend your day if you are in business, to spend quality time with people who can buy from you. So if you see that you are spending a lot of time with people who cannot buy from you, then you're probably hanging out with the wrong crowd. You can't call them current customers, both potential and actual, if they cannot buy from you. I'm qualifying it as current because sometimes people can establish a connection, and then over a certain time space or time span, they will be able to purchase your products or services, and so they probably would like it far before they can actually purchase it, but we are talking about how much time do you spend with the people who can buy your products, both actual and potential currently. Okay, so if you find in your assessment of how you're spending your time that you are spending a lot of time with people who cannot buy your product, cannot buy your service, then you know that you're probably hanging out with the wrong crowd. I don't know whether you have had any opportunity to be in some meetings of some producers of some very high-end products. High-end products usually are targeted at high net worth individuals, and so they won't spend their time to attract you, because if you are not a high net worth individual who can actually patronize the product and have the corresponding purchasing power to make good your purchase, attracting you into their fold will be expensive for them. You will become a cost without an attendant potential buying decision, you see. So that's how we ended last week. Spend time with customers. So important. All right, but today, as I said, I want us to look at some thoughts on how to finance your business in Ghana. We're just sharing some thoughts on this very important subject. It's been said by many, that cash is literally the lifeline or blood of every organization. But we also said on this platform that a true entrepreneur does not need cash to start his or her business, but you will need cash to grow your business. You see, so moving from 0 to 1, you may not need money, but from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, you may need cash to step in as an amplifier. Okay, you will need money to amplify what you're doing, to increase your distribution, to increase your reach, to increase the product you are able to produce in terms of quantity. You may need cash to do that, but you don't necessarily need cash to start the business. In other words, if you need cash to start it, you probably are not an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur will find a way to start it. Okay, so we said that a while back, but today we want to explore the various channels we can use as business people, or somebody who is considering to, stepping out to start a business. What are the sources? I can tap into to finance my business venture. I have a business idea. What are the sources I can use to finance it? We want to share some thoughts that I trust will be helpful to you. I have captured 4 main channels, 4 main streams that we can tap into to finance our businesses, or to finance a business idea or concept. That is very foreign in this part of town, talking about Africa and Ghana specifically. We're so risk averse that very few financiers will back an idea. very few financiers will back an idea. And so doing business in Ghana, doing business in Africa, it's a daunting task. You know, you need to do a lot more to just stay afloat than maybe your counterparts in other jurisdictions. And you need to understand that before you actually, step out to say you want to start your business or work on your idea. It's very important for you to understand, scan and understand your environment, see the particular challenges that are existent in your current context. It's very important. And as I said, in our space, very few financiers will back an idea. But in other jurisdictions, other contexts, ideas decide and determine everything. But here, can you think about walking to a bank and say, I have an idea? Are you interested? Can I sit with your guys or your team or the desk that is interested in funding ideas? They'll just throw you out, my friend. They'll walk you out. And yet in other jurisdictions, they are looking for people who can bring up ideas, who can come up with ideas. So if you understand the context or environment in which you're operating, then you can tweak your method, how you are going to. So it won't discourage you from doing what you are convinced about, but it will inform the strategy, it will inform the method, it will inform how you will approach this idea that you have. So the four main areas or streams I will want us to consider in funding our businesses or our business ideas. The first will be equity. And equity is putting your own skin in the game, your own skin in the game, putting your own money, your own asset in the business, or backing your own idea with your own money, backing your own idea with your own asset. In Ghana, I really want to contextualize this because you look at it in Ghana, many small and medium scale enterprises, many startups, many of them use their own funding. They use their own money, maybe some savings they have, or some things they've been able to put together. They use that to set up their own businesses, or at least to begin an idea that they have to step out and get it done. Many people use their own monies, so to start from that basic level, equity then will be your own money in the business, or your own money backing your own idea. Okay, so that is one of the classic ways of funding your business idea. One of the classic ways. In terms of equity, it is important to also understand, sometimes people talk about equity in kind and equity in cash. It's important to know you cannot have all your equity in kind. Usually they call that sweat equity. We can't convert everything to equity in kind, because you would need some amount of cash to actually implement your ideas and to get your business going. So equity is the first main stream of potential funding for your business. Equity is the mainstream that you need to consider. So if you have an idea, then you should find ways of putting some money aside to be able to grow that business, coming up, dipping your hand in your own pocket and funding your own business or your own enterprise. So that is the classic way of financing businesses, especially in Ghana, even though there are other sources, there are certain positives of funding your business with your own money or with monies from partners who are also a part of the business. So that money is treated as equity if they are giving that to secure a portion of the business. So for example, you have a business idea and you can get 2-3 people together to prosecute that idea, and maybe everybody can come up with something, and then you put that together, and that then becomes like a seed capital with which you would grow the business or start the business. But the good thing about equity is if it came from yourself, if you didn't borrow that money to use as equity, then you see that it's usually patient capital. Equity is usually patient capital. It's a capital that is not in a haste, okay, because it's your own money and you believe in this business, and so you are willing to put your money in there because you believe in the business. You are 80% convinced that you will win in that business, and that's the reason why you will put your own money in it. And when you do that, because it's patient, it allows you and affords you the room to actually get busy with your idea, get busy with your product, get busy with your strategy, and then work without having third parties sitting literally on your neck, breathing down your neck and saying, hey, you need to pay me the money, you need to make good your promise to repay and all that. So one key advantage of using equity or your own money is that equity most often is patient. It's patient because, number one, you believe in the business, and because you believe in the business, if you're putting your money in it on the back of your trust, confidence, and belief in the business, you are patient to see that money work and return good dividends. Okay, so that's the first source or stream of funding for your business, considering using your own money or equity from contribution from the partners or the group of guys who have gotten together, or women who have gotten together to get this business off the ground. So it's very important. The main or regular source, classic source, is equity, your own money from your own pocket. And the next mainstream we can look at is debt or loan. Debt or loans. As I said earlier, if you have a business idea and you are roaming from finance houses and banks looking for money, ideally venture capital firms should be able to partner you to get that off the ground. But as I said, in our context, even sometimes venture capital funds operate as commercial banks because we are all impatient. The capital in our space is very impatient. It's not money that has time on its hands. Many of the capitals in our space, they are already, behind time. They are behind time. And so the capital is not patient. Any money that is injected in the business is not patient. They want you to just deliver the next month, generate returns the next month. So you talk to a typical venture capital that should, have patient capital to hold you up literally from inception to production to selling and to realizing profits. You will find that they are also sometimes impatient. So going for debt with just an idea in your head is very difficult in this space. It's very difficult. So usually what will be demanded of you is that you should have implemented that idea to learn from it and to see what adjustments needs to be made. And then whilst that idea is on the ground and running, then some of the banks or finance houses will be interested in considering the possibility of they funding your activities. Okay, so even though the banks are also a very large, a large stream you can tap into to finance your business, it's not that straightforward. There are a lot of things that must be in place for you to be able to tap into that banking stream to finance your business. And I will talk about that some more in some few minutes. The next will be customers. So you have equity, your own money, you have debts. Debt could come from banks, could come from individuals, could come from other institutions, that are willing to lend. But usually, in our space, I really want to contextualize this. In our space, many of the funds that come from the cortex of debt financing are not patient. Okay, they are not patient. So you get the money, and even in other places, you will get a loan, and you start repaying the following month. Yeah, and can you imagine starting your business, going for a loan, and then the next month you have to make a repayment? It's really difficult. But people still do that, and they get themselves into all kinds of trouble. And that's why we're doing this, to help you see this is what exists. These are the implications of making decisions in this way or that way. And once you are properly informed, then you can make an enhanced or an enlightened decision, because you have some tools you're working with. So that's very important. Equity, debts coming from all kinds of sources, and then customers. Your customers could also be a huge stream to fund your business. If you're able to generate the right customers, the right purchasing power, by they patronizing your product or service, they are financing your business. And that's a very sustainable way to go, by focusing on generating customers who will finance your business long term. They are very stable. The conditions are not that much, because you're already excited about the business. You're already pushing for excellence. And so once you're able to satisfy your customers, the cash will keep coming. And that's a very sustainable way of financing your business. And then the fourth will be financing your business from profits. Financing your business from profit. This is also a very important stream to tap into, and usually we call it retained earnings. Retained earnings. So you've made a profit, and instead of evacuating the profit to buy a new car, you retain the profit in the business, so you can operate your next accounting year, or next season, or next chapter with the money you made in the previous year. Usually, you check many of SMEs, because they are really running a thin budget. Sometimes the business can go for years, and all they are doing is breaking even. And so in using retained earnings or profits as a way of financing your business, you find that it becomes a little more difficult, because if you just break even, it means your costs are equal to your revenues, on the high level. So if your costs are equal to revenues, there is pretty much nothing left for you to say you're going to finance your business with. And this is what happens in actuality. In actuality, you can have businesses that are operating, for years, and they are just breaking even. They are just breaking even. And so the fourth source of financing your business becomes a challenge, usually for many of the startups or many of the SMEs, but it's also a very patient source of funding. You see, when you are financing your business from profits you made last year, that money is very patient. Okay, I think in all the ones we've talked about, it's debt that usually is impatient. Sometimes capital can also come in, equity can come in as equity and exit as debt. And so with such arrangement, what will happen is maybe you will agree on a certain time frame. So we're putting money into your business for 5 years, and for the 5 years, the money is treated as equity. But after the 5 years, we convert it to debt. You pay me off, and I go away. Okay, so you have kind of a hybrid where I come into your business with money as a shareholder, equity finance, and then we'll say, okay, this money will be tied up in this business for 5 years. But after 5, and we agree on this before you start. Don't go middle of the way and then you come up with all kinds of conditions. No, we agree before the money is injected into your business. After 5 years or after 7 years or whatever the time span is, we are going to convert this equity investment into debt, and then we pay you off, and then you go and we take back the shares. So you have a lot of funding tools that engage this kind of a hybrid. You see, because they are very happy with the business, they are comfortable with the business, but they don't have long-term interest in the business. So they don't mind coming in for 5 years, coming in for 7 years, and then they convert their equity as debt. You pay them off, and then they go, and then you take back the full ownership of your business. So that's also something that can be used. But I want us to just share some few thoughts about using debt to finance your business. The case of Ghana, looking at how our banks operate here. What are some of the things you'll be dealing with if you want to use banks to finance your business? And I see people literally trying to break their backs to get banks to finance their businesses. I'm sure if you really know what this whole game is about, you will probably focus on the more sustainable and reliable way of financing your business as a small business. As a small business, there are a lot of factors that really make it extremely challenging for small businesses to thrive and survive in Africa and in Ghana in particular, and so as important as getting extra funds into your business is, to be able to grow it, you need to also know what kind of money is coming into my business, because every money has a voice. I told you some are very impatient, some are patient. So sometimes you can be doing very well until you invite impatient capital into your business, and before long, everything is deconstructed. So you really want to be sure what kind of money am I getting into my business. A few thoughts I jotted down to share with you. Banks will normally lend you money when you do not need it. Have you thought about that? Many banks, the banks in Ghana, many of them are willing to lend you money when you don't need it. It's difficult, but it's almost becoming as if there is no sense of occasion. Try going for a facility with a bank and see how by the time it is approved and disbursed, you don't literally need the money again. Time is gone. That window of opportunity that was open for you to execute whatever it is, by the time the money comes, you don't need it. So that's one side of it in terms of timing. Matching when the funds is needed to when it is available. Timing. That's one. So I'm sharing this with you so you know what you're dealing with. If you want to exercise, the opportunities that exist in financing your business with banks, you need to know the potential, challenges you'll be dealing with. One of them is a mismatch between when you need the money and when they make it available. That mismatch can cost you contract, cost you business, cost you your entire enterprise. That mismatch. Okay, so the banks will normally lend you money when you don't need it. But that statement is also true when you look at it from this perspective, that banks are usually chasing companies who don't need their money. But you see, for the bank, it seems to be a good strategy, see, because usually those who don't default are very liquid, okay? Because the entire underpinning of a credit decision is your ability to repay and your willingness to repay. So they are not just looking at your willingness to repay. If you are willing to repay but you are unable to repay, you will still default. So the underpinning of a credit decision is the character of the borrower. Is he willing to repay? You are looking at his character. Number two, is he able to repay? Okay, so if you are willing and able to repay, that gives you a high score in the credit rating. Plus, they now want to see what cash flows underline the particular business they are about to fund. So usually you see banks chasing very liquid businesses because they want to lend to businesses who don't need the money because they are less likely to default. But the group I'm speaking to right now, an SME, small business, you need every peso you can get from the bank. You need everything you can get from the bank. But when you come across as that desperate, you begin to give off signals that no, this guy may default. And so you will find that the people who really need the money are coming across as very desperate people, and so the banks are cautious in lending them money. And those who don't need it, banks are sitting in front of their doors morning, noon, and night, knocking and saying, oh, we can finance this. Why are you doing this for cash? Let us finance it. In fact, we were taught to pick businesses' balance sheets and look for assets and look for it matching liability. And if there is no liability or matching that asset, it's a business opportunity. Why did you buy this for cash? We could finance it for you. Okay. Even though you have bought it, let us do equity release for you. Let's do a sale and lease back for you. Let's give you back your money, okay, as if we are buying your assets, and then let us rent it back to you. So banks are knocking the doors of businesses who don't need their money and forcing businesses and transactions on them because there is a perception that people like that, businesses like that, will not default. And here you have a pool of SMEs, a pool of startups, a pool of people who have great ideas, who want to do something commercially viable. And then there are barriers and walls and oppositions and installations to keep them from getting even a peso from a banking institution. Why is that? You come across as desperate. Why is that? Your situation looks as if okay, let me put it this way. It seems as if your business is hanging on a delicate balance. And so any little introduction into your equation will make you prone to defaulting that facility. And so you are not likely to get the support or backing of a bank giving you debts or giving you a loan to finance your business. So that statement, this is the meaning of it. Banks will normally lend you money when you don't need it. The first aspect of that is the timing issue. Okay? They will take forever to get the loan approved, and by the time it's ready to be disbursed, you don't need it. It's expired. You don't need it. You are supposed to bring this thing on the 5th. You took the application 3 months before, and then the money is ready on the 15th. And you go back to them and say, no, the opportunity is gone. So that's a timing disconnect. But the other thing too is the banks are giving money to businesses who don't need it because those people don't look like they will default. So how do we conclude on the posturing of banks, especially in Ghana? They are looking for safe businesses. The risk appetite is low. And interestingly, your interest rate, the interest rate you pay, has a component called risk premium. That means in the mind of the bank, they are taking a risk on you by lending you the money. So they are charging you risk premium, and yet they want a business that has almost zero risk. Now, if I'm presenting a zero risk business, why should you charge me the same interest rate you are charging everybody else? You see where the issue is. Okay, so assuming you present a business that is zero risk, and that will even be difficult because we live in an environment that you can't say is zero risk. So assuming it's 2% risk, and somebody also has a business that has 30% risk, and the bank is happy to do all. If your balance sheet size is the same and your pedigree is the same, I'm telling you, even though your risk profiles are different, they will give you the same interest rates. So they'll tell you, this is how much our facilities are going for. So you will even see that the rates are not sensitive to who we are, what we are doing. Okay, and you need to know this before you get yourself involved with a bank facility. It's very important. They will give you the money when you don't need it. Those who really need it, they won't get it because they are very risky, they look like they can't pay, all kinds of. But in other jurisdictions, as I said, those are the people they are looking for. But these are people who can open up new business spaces, who can open up new frontiers. We need people who can come up with ideas and back them with money so they will be able to, expand and to grow. Even if we're not giving them money to start, at least when they're able to kickstart it, we should be ready to say, okay, you know what, I see this idea, I see the projection, I see this. Or sometimes the bank should come with technical assistance, not just throw money at people and go to sleep waiting for it to be repaid. Offer technical assistance because you have a gamut of professionals and technical people who can sit with these business guys and say, okay, you know what, let's think through your business. Let's see how we can help project. Because the thing is, if the business succeeds, they won't default. But the practice in many banks in Ghana today, they throw money at you, go to sleep waiting for you to come and repay. And you default and they say, we told you so. As if the intention of the loan was to set you up to default. I know that's not what they think, but that's the practice. Okay? And so what you must know, the one knocking on the doors of the bank, you must understand this. You must know what is happening. You must know what you're getting yourself into. If you want to finance your business enterprise with a debt facility from a bank, you must be aware that the money may come when you don't need it, or until you're able to package yourself as someone who doesn't need the money. They probably may not hear you, and it's all over. Time won't allow me to get into details in terms of some practical examples and cases. And sometimes it's difficult to also use cases because those cases are real people, like real businesses and all kinds of confidentiality clauses we have signed in the past. So just pick this as a principle. I'm talking because I've seen it. I have experience along those lines, so I know what I'm talking about. And then banks chase businesses who do not need the money. As I said, they chase businesses who do not need the money. So you need to know this when you're dealing with banks. Okay, if you come to them extremely desperate, they may write you off. So you need to know it. Banks in Ghana in particular are project finance oriented. And if you understand this, then as a business person, you can package yourself properly. Okay, what am I saying? Banks in Ghana are project finance oriented. So usually, when you approach a bank, listen to their conversation and you will know their orientation. Their conversation is this: do you have a contract? I mean, the moment you approach them, there's this business I'm thinking about. Do you have a contract? Now, the thinking that do you have a contract means, I don't want you to produce whatever you want to come up with your products and then get into the market, and I, the bank, don't want to sit down waiting for you to sell everything before you can pay me. So I'm telling you, one of the easiest ways of getting, debt financing from banks is, number one, have a contract. A contract with a reputable paymaster, the person you are rendering the service or supplying the product. Number two, the contract, make sure the contract period, the tenure of the contract ties in with how long you want the facility for. I'm telling you, if you do these things I'm talking to you about, every bank will be happy to deal with you because that's how they think collectively. collective thinking. So you have a contract. The tenure of the contract should not be less than the tenure of the facility you're looking for. Okay? And then the contract must have, for example, they will go through the clauses that constitute breach. So you need to make sure that that side is tight, and then go a step further to secure the performance risk side. So you have the contract. What's your ability to deliver this contract? Okay, what's your ability to deliver the contract? So the bank is looking at, oh, okay, the contract is genuine. The paymaster is great. He will pay. We know he has the capacity. He has the willingness to do. The contract is correct. It's genuine. It's not a fraud. Okay. Then now they will be looking at performance risk. But can this gentleman, can this lady who wants us to finance him, can he or she perform the contract? Can he execute it? Can he deliver? So that thinking, that realm of thinking is what we call the performance risk. Okay? There is a performance risk on you. Assuming you are unable to perform the contract or deliver or execute, what happens? The bank will lose the money they put into your business. Okay, so you need to take a step further to assure the bank that performance risk is covered by this intervention. So you could even go to an insurance company and take a performance bond. Okay, and by going to an insurance company to take a performance bond, you are assuring the bank that even the performance risk that could be an issue for you, I've covered it. I'm really telling you some things. It's very important for you to know. My mind is that if you are listening to me, and you are a believer, and you have a calling into business, you need to know what you're dealing with. Else, you are just wasting your time knocking on these doors. If you're not putting yourself in the right light, it doesn't matter how many doors you knock. Because the guy opening the door is looking for something. If you don't look like it, they will throw you out. And that's why I'm helping you see how to position yourself, how to package yourself, how to structure this business so that you'll be able to engage effectively with potential financiers. Okay, so the banks in Ghana are project finance oriented. They are always looking for, do you have a contract? Because they want to finance a contract. They want to finance a contract. They want to finance a contract. Okay? Very few people will want to give you a debt finance for say 7 years to go and come up with a manufacture a product or something and then come and sell it in the open market. Very few banks or finance houses will do that because they think it's open-ended. It's not secure. The thinking is that they want to see the security of your cash flows. So if there is a firm contract, then there is a paymaster. So they evaluate that person, they do some due diligence on the person or that institution or business. And once they see that, the person is credible, he'll be able to pay, they'll be happy to give you the money. We'll pick it up next week. Next week, we'll pick it up. I'll take it up again from here and let you know what else we can talk about in dealing with the banks in Ghana. Okay, so if you know that the banks are prone to do project financing, then as a business person, you can also phase out what you want to do. So assuming you want to even get into the manufacturing or get into, the manufacturing business, don't start from manufacturing. Start from trading by securing firm contracts, get the goods from, whoever supplier, and then because that one, you will get banks to back you. Is there a contract? Is the person you're supplying, a credible person? They do their due diligence. Your performance risk is covered. The tenor of the contract is covered. And then you yourself, the person who is delivering it, everything is sorted. You are more likely to have financing from a bank when you present that business case than you are if you go to me and say, I intend on producing this. I want to set up this factory. I want you to fund me or lend me money to do this. I'm telling you, they'll tell you, we are not currently focusing on that aspect or line of business. That's a nice way of saying, we won't do it. go and do it. I hope you picked one or two things that will help you in your business.